Welcome everyone to your December 2025 weather forecast. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this and asking for this on the channel. It's December 1st, 2025, and we are going to be doing your forecast today. Thanks everyone for 1,500 subscribers. I'm not going to waste any time. Here is your December 2025 forecast. This is the current situation from the GFS 12Z. Low pressure is coming in off the Atlantic, and we are going increasingly mild from the west. Very mild and no signs of cold freely with this. As we go through the latest GFS, you can see that the Atlantic onslaught continues before the signs around the 5th of December of high pressure building to the north. Maybe signals of something colder on the way. If we carry on though, the Atlantic stays dominantly in, even though the high pressure is very, very interesting indeed, very blocked, but we just don't quite get the cold in. By the end, we are still mild, wet and windy off the Atlantic. This is just one ensemble run though, and this is just the start of your December forecast. Latest GFS ensembles and precipitation anomalies for London. The average line is the thick red line from 1991 to 2020. We're currently just above average, and we're looking about around average for the rest of the month so far. This goes out to the 17th or 18th of December. Anyway, as we go into this next week, we look pretty mild off the Atlantic. Up and down, with them transient ridges of high pressure and low pressures passing through. As we go into the central portion of the month around here, the uncertainty starts to arrive. There's chances of some colder zonality from northwesterlies from Greenland, and there's also just chances that we stay very mild off the Atlantic. But as we go into the mid-month and to the end of the month is where my focus really lies, and we've still got a lot of runs going mild, but we've also got a few going a bit cooler. And then we've got one on today's latest run going extremely cold with the -10 line in. I know that's one run out of 32, but it's happened before with the beast release and stuff like that. And then runs start to appear more often. So I'm not saying that anything's happening, but the signs, same with the GEM, there is just runs around the end going very, very cold. And because the MJO is in a phase 7, and maybe moving into a very rare phase 8, it favours a much more blocked and colder pattern for northern Europe and northwestern Europe as well. If we go to the ECMWF, once again it's a similar thing. If we go to the midnight run, there's just a few runs at the end going very cold. I know it's far out, but it is signals. It's a sign of something changing as we go into the middle of the month. AIFS as well, there's some very cold runs from that as well. The majority are mild, but there's some very cold, which is interesting. This is the GFS Ensemble number 18, and this is why I am looking at a colder possibility later we go on in the month. This is what the run looks like. Once again, in comes the low pressure from the Atlantic. Until around mid-month we start to build high pressure to the north around Greenland and Scandinavia. Then we get a proper Scandinavian high building around the 11th of December, and we get that fully locked in. Before we start to build a cold pool over Europe, we bring the winds in from a very cold easterly direction. Upper air temperatures are -5, and by the time we get up to the end, -10 upper airs are moving in. Very, very cold, very, very wintry. These lows off the Atlantic are then going to be trying to move in just there, which could cause all sorts of fun and games with snow and stuff like that. Once again, that's only one ensemble, but it is a sign. There is little signals of something colder mid to late December on the way. I've got the Christmas jumper on for this special as well. Anyway, ECMWF weekly anomalies, here we go. These are the 500 HPA highs. This is for week 1. This is the 1st to the 8th of December. High pressures around Greenland and Scandinavia. Low pressures through the middle. We are bringing the winds in from the west, southwesterly. The main forecast will be later on in the video, by the way. Week 2 is the 8th to the 15th of December. High pressures blocking once again. There's just signals that there's something colder trying to get in. Winds are in from the east of Scotland. We're still probably milder from the west for the south. Week 3 is the 15th to the 22nd of December. We just can't quite get cold, and we stay pretty mild off the Atlantic. And week 4 is the 22nd to the 29th of December. We got that ridge over us, winds in from the southeast. We are just not getting that cold in. But if we do go back a couple of days from these updates you'll see that this doesn't mean anything. This is a few days back where we had some very interesting charts that I'm going to show you right now. So once again, these are from last Thursday. You can see that blocking signal's there, and as we go into late December, take a look at that. The high pressure is much more centred over Greenland, Svalbard and Scandinavia, and winds are in from a colder easterly. So there's a lot of options on the table, and I think this could go either way as we move into mid to late month, especially after the 20th of December. Latest zonal winds, we are recovering from the minor SSW. The lag time for that's about 2 weeks, so that could bring us some more block patterns, but it may not do anything because we've already got the MJO, so this might sort of ruin it a little bit. This SSW isn't that severe, so there's not really look like it's going to do much effects on our weather at all. We're going to be recovering to around the average, which is up here. And we are going to be hovering around there for a couple of days before we seem to drop around average again or a little bit below. Some runs are staying around average, and there is quite a few runs going for an SSW still as we go into later on in the month. So there is signs, there's a little signs of an SSW returning late December into start of January. This was a bigger signal on Thursday, take a look at that, and Friday there's a much bigger signal, increased chance of an SSW end of December. Maybe backing off that today, but there's still time for that to come back, and that would give us a much colder end to the month as well. Coral reef temperatures, or sea level temperatures, whatever you want to call them, sea temperatures. This is the Pacific. This cold area here is the La Nina signal, and that favours us a colder start to the winter over parts of northern Europe. We're focusing on this area here in the Atlantic. Ignore the rest of this for the time being. In the minute, we have got a warmer area down here, a warmer area to the south of Greenland and Iceland, and we've got a bit of a cooler area slotted in between there, and a bit of warm over here on the edge of Spain and the UK. That's a classic tripole signal. It usually brings us a negative North Atlantic oscillation, which favours a more blocked and colder setup for the UK. It doesn't always mean it will be, but it usually does. So there's a slight tripole signal. It's not a classic strong tripole, but there is a tripole signal there. Right, Arctic oscillation. This is the sort of heights or lows over the Arctic. So when we are in a positive phase, let's say up here, that shows we've got the Atlantic driven low pressure in the Arctic. When we're in a negative phase down there, that means we've got extensive blocking in the Arctic regions. We're coming out of a neutral phase at the moment, or slightly positive, and we are looking negative as we go into mid-December. There's a few that go positive, but there's also a few that go extremely negative around the -4 line, which is extremely negative, and it's a big sign of some very extensive northern blocking. North Atlantic oscillation around Greenland is the same thing, but it's in the North Atlantic. We are coming out of a positive phase, and we are going negative for the time being. Some models or GFS runs are going positive by mid-month, but there's also a lot staying negative as well. So the whole signal is for a more block pattern over the Arctic and the North Atlantic as we move into the later parts of the month. Anyway, here's my December forecast, or what I'm going to be predicting. It might not come off. Anyway, so for the first week of December, this week especially, we're going to be wet, windy and unsettled off the Atlantic. And I'm thinking that there will be a lot of rain as well. There's been a lot of rain today. I'm thinking the same for the second week, really. I think there'll be Atlantic areas of low pressure pushing in, pretty unsettled and quite mild as well. But I do think there will be signals of high pressure starting to build to the north. As we move into the third week and towards Christmas we go, I'm expecting the blocking signal to increase, and we could end up setting up a bit of a battleground between northeasterly, easterly winds and the Atlantic, possibly bringing a bit of snow. We're still on the edge. Then as we go into the last week of December, I think we may turn pretty cold with the easterly or northeasterly winds. Low pressures may try to push up from the Atlantic, bringing some snow events. It's still uncertain, but there is a higher chance of a white Christmas than recent years, and there's a higher chance of cold than recent years as well. If we do get the SSW the end of December, that will increase our chances into the start of January as well, something very cold. Overall, I think it's going to be a mixed month, mild and unsettled start. Second half could be cold. There is an option for it to be very, very extremely cold, but it's unlikely at this stage. The MJO going into phase 7 and possibly a very rare phase 8 is also a big signal for blocking. Whether that'll be over America or over Greenland or Scandinavia, who knows? That'll decide where gets the cold weather. But that's my December forecast. I think there's a chance we could have a pretty cold second half of December. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for all the support as well. 1,500 subscribers. We will have for super chats and stuff, and when we get memberships going, we'll have like a sector here on the left side of the screen, or maybe on the right side somewhere, for people who support the channel from super thanks or super chats, stuff like that. Anyway, my December forecast is done. That is what I'm thinking. Let me know what you think, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.